questions.
Yeah.
Shall we do some questions? So we went out there with some questions. We got a couple on Twitter and a couple through Podium, which we do with our Husker Extra chat every so often.
Here, I can throw this one out here for you.
Do it.
This is from The Real PJ. Are there expectations the run-pass play ratio will lean more pass with the increase in receiver talent and with Dylan Raiola in year 2?
Good question. What do you think?
Well, I was thinking about that. I looked back on last year's run-pass ratio, and it was about 55% pass, not sack adjusted, but about 55%. And then I was curious, well, what was it when Holgerson took over the last 3 games of the regular season and the bowl game? It was actually almost exactly the same, about 55% pass.
Yeah.
And so I guess my sense is that it would be similar to that next year. I mean, maybe you move it up a tick with the full offseason with Holgerson and with Raiola doing what he does. I kind of get the sense that Nebraska might work in a few more short passes, swing passes, screens to supplement the run game or sort of be an extension of the run game. So maybe that factors in a little bit. And then, I mean, the receiver piece I think is very legitimate where, I mean, that's the group where you've got 3, 4, 5 guys that you feel good about getting the ball to, and you can be creative in how you do that. Whereas I think with the running back and even with the offensive line, like there are still a lot of questions. So if it was 55% last year, my sense is, I mean, probably between 55 and 57%, maybe something in that range would be my hunch, just based on what they have back. But I mean, and Holgerson's been pretty clear about saying this a couple times. He's like, this is not going to be an air raid system, even though that's his background. And you still got Matt Rule, who wants to be a clock controlling kind of guy, clock management sort of coach, at least somewhat. I think that's probably changed a little bit in his couple years with Nebraska, but I don't see it changing that much, even with a different offensive coordinator. What about you?
They were 65% run in 2023. So it shows you the difference that Dylan Raiola brings to the table. I agree with you. I think they're probably going to throw it a little more at times, but in the games where they're ahead comfortably, they're going to run the football. And I think Holgerson understands that the thing that you need in the Big Ten is something you can work on at the end of the Houston Christian game. It's 38-7. That's the time to bring the other linemen in, the other backs in, and practice being physical and run 17, 18 times in the fourth quarter. I think there's another universe that the late Mike Leach used to coach in, where you're up, whatever they were up against Nebraska back in 2004, and they're like, let's just keep throwing it. And they scored 70.
Yeah.
What they probably needed to do was practice running the ball, because you can't do that against every team, you know? And so I think that's an example of, like, you can run it up and you can put up some gaudy numbers, but are you working on the thing that you're going to need to win the toughest games? And to win your toughest games, you really do have to run the football. Like, really good defenses will find a way to take away most of your pass game. There's exceptions. Washington was an exception a couple of years ago. Michael Penix could literally throw them out of almost anything. It was amazing to watch. But it doesn't happen that often like that. And so I think you'll see him focus on trying to run the ball when they can. There might be a game where they throw it 40, 45 times, though, too. You know, he might have a Mark Whipple game. You never know.
Let me give you another one. This is a question specific to the tight ends, but I'm going to expand it for you a little bit too.
Okay.
This is, will Heinrich Haarberg be tight end 1? But I want to expand that and say, what position groups? Maybe give me a position group or 2 that you feel like is going to remain the least settled into the fall. What are we not going to maybe get resolution on as much this spring? And I'm assuming tight end would be in that mix, maybe.
I think it would be in the mix. I do think that Luke Lindenmeyer has the experience and the reps and the seasoning, especially as a blocker, that I think it'd be fair to consider him your top tight end at this moment. I think he's probably earned that. Even in the bowl game, I thought he was really good in that game. Fodoni had a nice game, but I thought Lindenmeyer did really good stuff too. Then you have Haarberg. Then you have a guy that has basically not practiced in Mac Markway, who tore his ACL right when he got here. Maybe he comes back. And then you got Carter Nelson, who, according to Holgorsen, is going to be a tight end. Now Nelson is going to have to rehab his injury and get back when he gets back. Once he gets back, is he going to have enough weight on him to be a tight end? And do you want to consider, a 4-game plan for him? I don't know. I think he's such a good athlete that you got to maybe go the other way with it. However, there were times last season where I thought they could have used him more often. He just didn't play as much as I thought he could have. So, yeah, that's one unsettled spot. I think the other unsettled spot, of course, is the secondary, not because they have unproven guys, but that they have a lot of proven guys, and only 4 or 5 of them can play at once, and maybe 6. But, yeah, I think that's a very competitive room, and you can choose a bunch of different options, and they have to figure out, because they have 28 of them on the roster, which ones won't be here in the fall.
In a month.
So, yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough situation. So those two, and then are we talking to Donovan Raiola tomorrow?
Yes.
He's not going to tell us his depth chart or anything. Of course.
No.
However, you got to tell me where Teddy Prohaska and Turner Corcoran are, and then you got to tell me where the young guys are, because that's a whole different. I mean, you got guys that are really old, and then you got guys that have not played much. So, and fundamentally, Teddy hasn't played that much because he's been banged up, which is too bad. But tell me how that picture looks. I don't think they're not. Maybe they're. We'll ask Donovan tomorrow, and we'll say, how have Teddy and Turner looked, and what are your expectations for them? And I think he'll give us an answer. I don't know if it'll be, everything we want to hear, but only he can determine that. They've empowered him to let us know. He's the guy. And maybe Rule goes over there and says a few words, but Raiola will tell them what he thinks can be done and who's ready and who isn't. And so there you go. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, O-line is kind of where my mind starts, and it's almost like a process of elimination a little bit. I mean, you bring in Elijah Pritchett to play tackle. You bring in Rocco Spindler. I mean, those guys, for what Nebraska paid to bring them in, are going to play. Justin Evans has been solid. He's going to play in the interior. So to me, it's that center spot. Like, you can't really kind of flesh out your whole line until you start in the middle. And so kind of the same thing. I want to hear from Donovan Raiola about Sam Sledge and about, how many snaps is he putting out there? Or is it Justin Evans, or where does Henry Lutovsky fit in? And then, as you mentioned, Corcoran and Prohaska, like, how do you begin to evaluate where they are and how they can help you now, or can you? Or does that conversation just sort of extend into the summer and into the fall? So I think those are the spots that I would look at. And then, what's backup quarterback look like?
Oh, that's Jalen.
I mean, it's Gramstead, but like
that ain't changing. You think it'll change?
No, I don't think it'll change, but like I just don't think it's been talked about enough. I mean, Dylan Raiola missed a couple series,
yeah,
all season when Nebraska wanted him out there, and he was banged up. I don't know maybe it's not. I'm curious about who the backup is, but how the offense would adjust or look different if Gramstead was that guy, because we just don't know, and we're not going to find out because they're not going to be a spring game, so we're not going to see him in that capacity either.
Yep.
So yeah, okay, he's.
I think that might be part of what they're thinking about.
What's that? Just not showing that off? Maybe. I mean, he's granddad, and he's going to be a coach. And
not him.
He's got a cool story, but like,
I don't mean
what
him.
Does he look like?
I mean the other two.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, Latif's a year away because weight-wise, I think he's got to put on some weight. But that kid can throw the ball. And the other guy, I don't think anybody knows much about him, but his high school tape's pretty good. It's really good, actually.
Former 4-star.
So he's not. As I thought about, who are the guys they don't want anybody to see? I thought, some of those defensive linemen, the young guys, and they look good. They look the part.
They do.
They can't really control the secondary thing because they're going to lose some of them anyway. And then, some of the other guys that, on that other side of the ball, Mekhi Nelson.
Well,
Folks, I'm looking into the camera here. He's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Hey,
he's quick.
Let's use that as a segue into our
next
question.
He's got that giddy up where he can kind of start. He kind of starts and he almost floats, and then he's going again. It's neat. He did it to 2 linebackers in that drill we saw. And I'm like, oh, okay,
Right.
okay.
Got a little.
Barthel got a recruit there. They kept him under wraps last year. Now, again, if he had gotten on the field and he'd done a few things, maybe that's a film out there. Anyway, go ahead.
Is he the answer to the next your answer to the next question about who behind Emmett Johnson would you say takes the most carries for Nebraska this year?
I don't. I think unless Johnson gets banged up, I think it'll be Ives because I think he is your power guy. But Nelson is going to make it interesting.
Where would you fit him in? Because if Emmett Johnson's sort of the
Third down.
do-everything guy and Ives is the power guy.
Third down. Slot guy coming across taking a sweep. Billy Kemp.
Okay. You wouldn't want Emmett Johnson in that role on third down?
I think Emmett Johnson's a good player.
He's coming every down guy.
I've been very praiseworthy of him. Look, there's going to be in an 11-play drive. If you don't have to trot a guy that just played the first 7 plays back onto the field, the minute third down comes, all the better. Does that make sense?
It does.
What I'm saying is that, of course Emmett is your guy. But let's say it's an 11-play drive. You started at your own 19. Emmett played the first 7 plays, had 4 carries and a catch. He's going to come out. He's going to get a breather. Who are you putting in? Well, maybe you're putting in Ives. But on third down, maybe you got the other guy in. I think anyway. I think it'll be Ives.
All right.
I think he will be the power back unless they add somebody else. I think now Ives he's got some explosiveness. He's got a gear. He likes to bounce it at times, so they'll have to figure out how to keep him within the. But anyway, I think their back room is not bad, and I think Nelson makes it better.
Incidentally, as it relates to the carries discussion, I mean, I would tend to agree with you. I think Ives has that power back sort of Dante Dowdell role a little bit. I'll be curious, one, how much Nebraska sticks with some of the sweeps that they ran with Barney last year, or if that's going to go away under Holgorsen. And then 2, with all the discussion about Dylan Raiola being more mobile, how far up the chart does he go? He had,
I do think that they'll run
10
the sweeps.
carries last year.
Holgorsen popularized Bob Stitt's pitch pass sweep in the Orange Bowl game against Clemson with Tavon Austin. They ran it over and over.
Okay.
I just don't know that you have to have Barney do that. I think you've got guys that can. I mean, Ja'Cory Barney's a hell of a receiver, and he can play in that role too. But I'm saying Mekhi Nelson can do that. I think Isaiah Mosey can do that. These are guys who can run.
Yeah.
They can run. Now Cortez Mills has got some jumping ability and the ball skills and all that. He could be special 28 yards down the field.
As a deep threat, yeah.
OZ can run. Like that guy in a short area of space. He's, he can just make guys miss. And Nelson's the same way. And so, I think they've got some guys who are elusive. And then Mills, I think, can be elusive, but you can also tell just by the way, and he didn't come down with him, but the way he's able to time up the ball and it's coming here, and he's got an innate ability like a center fielder.
When I went down to Kansas City to see Mosey, he described himself as like a possession type receiver. He's more than that in terms of speed. I was struck by his route running in the 20 minutes that we saw.
Oh, the whole
open practice, in like a 5 to 10 yard space, like his crisp, like he went in and then he cut to the side and went into the end zone. And he created like 5 yards of separation.
Yes,
it was really impressive to see.
He's a craft guy, and that's what I mean. You can run him on sweeps because you can run a bunch of. He'll keep on the right track and. The best guy they had running those sweeps back when Riley was doing them, and his teams were the best at doing them, was probably Alonzo Moore, but Riley was really good too, and you have to keep on a certain track. And Pearsonell was all right. You got to keep on a track of sorts. You can't, so I think he could be good at that, but also Nelson. They are not going to just not play Mekhi Nelson. They're going to play him. He's going to play, and I think they know that, and nobody's talking about it. They want to kind of keep it whatever, and that's all fine. He'd be a guy that I think